Anders, you're here. Hi, Anders. Hi, Beanish. Hi, Mel. Oh, I should put my. Can you hear me? Oh, hi. Hey, baby. Mike, I can't hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna leave. Mel, can someone hear me? Meg Wilson. Thank you, Meg Wilson. Also, thank you for the amazing weather reports. It's been very helpful. Actually, it's been very helpful.
Oh, ooh, wait, did you just? Oh no.
Did
What
I do
happened?
something? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, what happened now?
Hello? Did I do something wrong?
Anders, yes, I am using one of those.
Oh, can you hear now? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us at all?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah. No video though.
Yeah.
Mel,
Okay.
Mel, if you can turn on your camera again, that's great.
Yeah. So. Oh. Okay.
Wonderful.
You can see and hear.
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened. Joe, we can hear you just fine. Just so people on Zoom know, we connected the speaker to the computer. So if you guys talk on Zoom, people will be able to hear you here live as well. So if you have questions, people will be able to hear them. But that does also mean please keep your microphones muted while you can, so we can avoid extra
No,
sound.
Mel. No, Mel. I'm going to shout about the budget and everyone has to listen.
I, for one, would love to have you on a soapbox, Joe, but right now.
Okay, I think we should.
Yeah, it should. Yeah.
Hi everyone, we're gonna begin the meeting. If can you guys at the back hear me fine? Okay. My name is Beanish, and I'm really happy to welcome you to this first meeting of the general body. We hope to keep seeing you again in all the months to come. And as you know, if you've looked at the agenda, we have a lot of things happening today. So we're going to make sure that we run things efficiently, and for that, I will need your help. We are going to have a bunch of elections, and the soon we can get out of the way with that, we can get to other substantive things for agenda items today. Before I start, can I get a motion to start the meeting, open the meeting? Motion second? Okay, if you can just say second. Perfect. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? Abstentions? Great, we can move on. So we do need to, before we jump into our move to our speaker for today, we need to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which was in May. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Can I get a second? Great, lots of seconds. So we can vote on it. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Great. So the minutes of the last meeting from May have been approved. Thank you very much. Now we would like to welcome our invited speaker for today, who is the new CAPS director, Dr. Brian Ford, and Abdullah is going to introduce our speaker, and he's going to come here, give a little bit of a speak to us for a little bit, and we'll open the floor for Q&A. So Abdullah.
All right. Hi, everyone. So like Vinesh just said, our speaker for today is the new director of CAPS, Dr. Brian Ford. Dr. Ford and I have been working through the summer on just trying to get CAPS to have more of a focus on graduate students and how they can essentially better tailor some of their services towards graduate students. And we thought that it'd be a really great opportunity for you guys to hear from him directly, the kinds of stuff that he is working on and plans on working on, and then also give you guys a chance to ask him any questions that you have. So whenever you're ready, Dr. Ford, floor is yours.
Whatever you prefer. Whatever you prefer.
I do, sorry, before we start, I do ask that for the sake of people on Zoom, you try to speak closer to this as possible
Okay,
so they can hear you. Perfect.
can they hear me okay?
That sounds great.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Ford. I'm really honored to be here today. As Abdul, can everybody hear me okay? Okay, perfect. As Abdullah mentioned, I am the new CAPS director, and I've been on the job now for about 6 months. I spent 20 years at Dartmouth College, where I worked as an associate director of the counseling center there. And I'm really happy to be here to not only work with graduate students, but all of our community. Just want to share a little about CAPS and what we're doing here for this new year. As many of you may know, CAPS is the main mental health hub on campus. What we do is we see students for individual, group, and any kind of complications related to mental health services. We currently have around 14 clinicians on staff, and I'm really advocating that we get more. And we have about maybe 2.6 equivalent FTE of psychiatry. And so if students are interested in making an appointment at CAPS, they can call a number, which is, and I'm happy to give that number and actually send it on an email. But it's always, I'm sorry, I used to live in Maryland, and I get the 410-401. Thank you. Okay, it's not just me. I always invert that. So I think it's 401. Thank you. 863-3476. And you can schedule an appointment with one of our greeters. The first appointment that you will have when you meet with a member of our staff is a triage appointment. And the purpose of that is for us to get a sense of what's going on with you, and then to work with you to determine what might be a good disposition for you. And there's a number of things that we have for students to be able to participate in. One of the things that we're really sensitive about are graduate students, because we know your schedules are different. And we also know sometimes that it's really helpful whenever there's a group that you really want to be with other graduate students, and not, I see heads nodding, not with undergrads. And so one of the things that we've said is, as clinicians, we can decide that there's something really interesting, and students are like, no, I'm not interested in that at all. So if there are interests from graduate students in terms of a group, we would love to be able to run something like that, but we really want to get your interest and to determine what might be most helpful to graduate students. What is really important is that we actually have a member of our staff who is a coordinator for graduate studies. And so this person often has office hours in Horace Mann for graduate students. And sometimes graduate students have expressed some difficulty coming over to our center because they may be TAs and maybe running into students who they may have in classes. So to avoid some of that challenges, we have somebody who's over in Horace Mann. The goal is to try to provide more hours over in Horace Mann. Now, I know that for some graduate students, they may not want to go over there because they can do leadership, senior graduate student leadership or graduate leadership. And that might make it uncomfortable for them to be able to be seen there. So we're trying to find a nice sweet spot. Just know that even though we have a coordinator for graduate studies, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is solely responsible for doing graduate students, because we recognize with graduate students, it is sometimes important about a relationship. So if somebody wants to see a woman or someone who identifies as a woman, or if there's another part of their identity politics that's really important, we want to make sure that we can accommodate that for students. And then finally, what I also just want to make sure I explain is, for some of you, you may have some experience with counseling. For some of you, this may be very new. And I just want to talk about confidentiality, because I think that's really important. Sometimes students will question whether or not what they say in our offices are kept confidential. They have the potential to do that, which means we won't communicate with graduate student leadership about you unless you sign a release of information form. There are exceptions to that if we are concerned about someone's safety and we know that they can't be safe. There's a tendency for us to be able to breach confidentiality to ensure that that person is safe. But I just want to remind you that whatever is happening, we won't communicate with graduate student leadership unless we get your consent. So I feel like I've been jabbing for a little bit. Maybe what I could do is stop and get some questions or entertain some questions. But I do want to say, oh, I'm sorry. So Abdullah, I really want to put a plug in. Abdullah's been a really great partner this past summer. One of the things that we've been doing is trying to address what a needs assessment would look like for graduate students. And so we use a survey from the American College Health Association, which is their national college health assessment. And it yielded some really interesting data. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to be able to share any of that with you, but I'm hoping that we can, because I think it could be some really important information for graduate students, as well as leadership, graduate school leadership to see. So I really look forward to continuing this working relationship with Abdullah, and also would welcome anybody else who's interested in joining us for that. So I'll stop right here and see questions, comments, concerns. So let's start here, because I think I saw your hand first.
You mentioned that you have to make a phone call to schedule your appointment. Are there any plans to create like an online booking system, since I know like a phone call can be a really daunting hurdle for some people, especially when trying to set up something like a CAPS appointment?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we are exploring allowing people to make first-time appointments online. That we're nowhere. I want to be really careful before people say, Brian said I can do this. We are exploring the idea of being able to allow people to do first-time appointments. We used to have an email, and I understood that was pretty popular. I will tell you, as a clinician, that scared me. And let me tell you why. To have someone email for an appointment, not knowing whether or not this was urgent or not, and then for that to be like 6 or 7 hours before they got a response, was really concerning. And I want to make sure that whenever someone calls or has contact with us, that the feedback, or at least the interaction, is immediate, as opposed to waiting 6 or 7 hours for you to hear whether or not I got the appointment. So yes, we are exploring. I think I saw you and then you. Yes.
Situation.
Yes.
I don't know if others who are like this, but for me, the reason I say that is like I don't know if I want an individual appointment and that person's time right now. But I do, have structured things that we would talk about and kind of work environment. So I think I would find helpful. And then my question is, for the chorus band, thing that you were saying about, can you just say one more time, like that describes the chorus and play that will call this way, or?
Yeah, those are great questions. So to clarify, if you want to schedule an appointment and you're going to see the clinician that's over at Horace Mann, you will call to schedule a triage appointment. And then when you're done with the triage appointment, and if you're referred in-house, because again, there's a plethora of options that we can sort of share. Just like you mentioned, maybe somebody doesn't need it, but they want the individual counseling, then they will be sent to the clinician who's over at Horace Mann. So, and they would, the appointments are done with them. And I just want to also say, I appreciate what you said. And I sometimes feel like graduate students are so courteous because they're like, oh, I don't want to take it. But you all are important too. I really want to say that because I had a meeting with Dean Flores, and she shared with me that 1 in 3 students on Brown's campus is a graduate student, right? And I don't think many people realize that. So there is a significant number of graduate students, and I also want them to know that these resources are available for them, because I think sometimes they're willing to say, I'll wait or let the undergraduates. And I want to make sure that we're creating space for graduate students. Yes.
So she asked my question.
Oh.
I did have just a great question. Over the telephone, just trying to, and they asked her some questions. So, reacted to certain questions is really helpful. My next question, my last question would be with connection to clinicians on the ground. Because I think what I first want to practice is not and then having to find it to around the community and not know first. So I think that the resources is very important with the resources, referral services when it comes to connecting students with their missing around the community or the province community. Is there kind of a beginning of the works and how to find one, get us connected, get on a wait list right now in the city?
Yeah, so great question, and I would say a two-tier response. One is yes, we're trying to be better at sort of helping with referrals because I think historically, students have often found themselves too clinicians with sometimes about the counseling centers and systems because I think they were holding people in. And so we're trying to be more thoughtful of the fact that the capacity may not allow us to see people weekly. So yes, working on a guide to help people with community referrals. I will also say ZenCare, which is an amazing resource. This was created by a Brown alum. And the reason I like it so much is because it has a filtering system that allows you to be able to see who has active openings for cases or client space cases for clients. It also lets you filter based on insurance. It will also let you filter based on if there's an identity that you're really interested in. And so I've been a big promoter in my short time here of ZenCare, but I think it's been really helpful. There are a couple of other platforms. I think Psychology Today is also another good one. And then we have something called HealthySU, which I'm treading lightly with this because I've gotten some pushback from students who have been kicked off the platform or for whatever reason have not had success with it. So we've been meeting with the people who are managing that to figure out what's going on and why our students are having such a difficulty being able to manage that platform. One thing that we're doing tomorrow is we're doing an open house at our site at 450 Brook Street with community providers. And the goal of that is to reestablish ties with folks in the community. And we're also hoping that we can learn a little bit about their practices. So those can also be information that students can have if they're looking for community providers. Yeah.
Sorry. I know that your newsletter is an awesome. I had something like last year asked, is there an option of where like out because they should know that a lot of people and they would like the option to be like, oh, I don't want this versus like people like it. So I didn't know if that was like an option. About but I didn't put it okay. Which might be helpful. I don't think a lot of people know about a lot of unless really
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll think. Yes.
Can you be louder? Sorry, we want to make sure we get the questions to the, so as loud, if you want to stand up and be loud, thank you.
So in terms of groups, we have now, because again, I said earlier, it's always been our principle, when we start something, nobody shows up. So we want to avoid having that. What we want is student interest to drive it, because we need the students will get the people into the seat. So again, I think we're going to get a repository of suggestions, so that when we get a critical mass or if we want to do some programming, publicizing around this, we can put that out there and recommend. We're going to help you with the group. In terms of the workshop, we actually are doing something new this year. We have a workshop called the Anxiety Toolbox Workshop. The 3-session commitment. And at my own institution, I actually did look at the Department of Microbiology. So I guess what I'm saying is, if we're in cohorts getting together and say, hey, who'd be interested in doing this, more than happy to stop it or have a body will travel on top of you. We can do this workout and work the social over the time. I think the way it happened was this one student had gone for 3 hours and then was referred to the family to be helpful and then communicated back to the colleague in the department. So. It would be better if you reach out to me, let me know after later, because I don't know who would be doing it. Yeah. But there's another one, yeah. I had a question.
That like 1 out of every 3 student background grad student. I was curious, I assume those 14 Flemish are for the entire Brown population. If you're allowed to share, like what's the breakup of like how much time spent on undergrads versus grad students?
Yeah, so we don't really have that, like we essentially have whoever reaches out or accesses out to services. However, that can appear lopsided again if graduate students are feeling like this resource is not available for them. So I think one thing that we're trying to do is trying to do more publicity with graduate students to ensure that they actually have access to our services.
But I think last year there was like one position that was specifically for grad students. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mentioned the coordinator. Coordinator.
And we'll make sure all these resources that he mentioned, as well as the link, like, links for further contacting
Yeah.
you and other people in the office are going to be on our agenda, and we'll share it out when we send out the minutes. So make sure to check it out. With that, can we maybe have one last question in the interest of time? Or does anyone have one last question? Great. You can always reach out to Dr. Bryant, and thank you so much for being here today, answering all these great questions. Let's give him a round of applause and thank you for all the. We'll make sure we put it on the agenda. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have to include competitions and all the answers. Great. With that, let's move on to the next exciting part of our agenda today, which is elections. So the way we're going to run it is first we'll go over the position of the president. And secondly, then we'll go over the chair of communications. And the way we would run things is some of you have already reached out to me and sent in your names to be put on the list of candidates running for the position, and we'll run through those first. I'll ask you to come up, give a very brief, maximum 1 to 2 minute pitch, be as loud as possible, close to the mic so that people online can hear you as well. And once we have gone through the list, maybe we'll have some people on Zoom also running, so you will hear those pitches as well. Once that ends, I will ask all the candidates who are running to leave the room, and we'll vote together. The reps can vote, and whoever has the majority, they get elected as the new member of the council. So that's the logistics. I hope they're clear. I'm gonna just go through the list that I have. And the first person who expressed an interest to run for the president position is Sabrina Albino. Are you here, Sabrina? Are you on Zoom? Okay, moving on. We'll keep waiting for them to join. Second person, Lalita. Are you here? Lalita Ramaswamy. Can we check if they're on Zoom at all? I think that's not everyone. No.
No, I'm going. Why is it giving me so many tutorial things?
Nope.
Lalita,
Okay.
no.
So the next person, Janam Verma. Are you here, Janam?
James. No.
I guess we'll move on to the final candidate, which is Joe Kalishaw. And Joe I see you're on Zoom, Joe. So is there any way to maybe
Yes.
make
I I,
Wait,
I'm
we'll try to make you like the print screen, right?
yes, make me a big floating head in the sky. I'm so sorry for everybody that's in the lounge. You're going to hear a lot of me from tonight as treasurer because of the fact that, well, I'm treasurer, but unfortunately, as an international, the joys of the American visa service is not lost on me at all. So brace yourselves. You've got about 10 minutes of me talking, not this speech, but with the budget. So Beanish, when you give me the nod, I'll give the spiel for my bid.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
My 3 years of service as treasurer demonstrates my track record of unflinching advocacy for my fellow graduate students. I'm running for president because I believe that I embody the best option for stability and continued strong graduate advocacy in a time of unprecedented change. We face a cost of living crisis on a scale that neither ourselves nor our parents have ever seen. Our ability to live and act freely as graduate students is under threat. The only way to successfully navigate this challenge is to entrust the leadership of the Graduate Student Council to someone who can demonstrate a proven track record of extracting the best results from the executive board and to establish the best terms from the graduate school possible. I would argue that person is me. Given that, having seen the Treasury through the past 2.5 years of the pandemic, I have worked tirelessly with the graduate school administration to release over $75,000 in relief funds to make sure that each and every student has had access to funds to secure their living standards through every summer of the pandemic. As far as I can see, we have to address the issues in the short, medium, and long term. In the short term, I am the only candidate with the institutional knowledge with which to develop relationships and networks in the graduate school and wider university administration with which to steady the ship ahead. Yes, this is a time for realistic change, but a change that is sustainable and delivers results. I will put pressure on the graduate school's refusal to back our previous initiative for food security. The graduate school has pulled out of funding our initiative, which I helped to found. We must work to put pressure onto the graduate school to ensure each and every graduate student not only has a livable income, but one which is a viable standard of living and is achievable. In the midterm, in the spring, our contracts are up for renegotiation with the graduate school. It is a long overdue process that the Graduate Student Council works in harmony with the Graduate Labour Organisation so as to ensure all of the concessions we have gained apply to all graduate students, both PhD and Masters. We must also address the rollback of student services that the graduate school has imposed: sports facilities, transport, and healthcare. This will only be achievable through a harmonious relationship with GLOW and NIBRIT and other graduate-focused affinity groups, which I am committed to establishing and maintaining. In the long term, we must use all of our strength and institutional knowledge to ensure that our salaries are viable and that our standards of work are codified. I will work to ensure that our student populace is diverse and equitable, and to ensure that Brown remains a place of radical thought and excellence, that anyone who meets the intellectual requirement should be admitted and supported regardless of background, status, creed, or race. I will continue to develop the expansion of CAPS in a safe space away from the administration. I will bring to heel the affinity of centres such as the LGBTQIA plus centre, the Lo-Fi centre, the Career Centre, to actually provide graduate-centred and focused resources. Lastly, I will strive to usher in the facilitation of the Graduate Centre so that we finally have the space of our campus. My final statement is that the G stands for equal representation and equity across the board. It is a time to enact change, and I am the person to do just that. There's my spiel. There we go. I'm open for questions, by the way.
Thank you, Joe. Is there anyone, before we move on to vote, is there anyone else who wants to run for the position of the president? If not, then we can move on to the vote. Seeing that there are none, Joe, can we just kick Joe out of the Zoom super quick? I mean, yeah.
I can kick him out.
Yeah, I'll leave and then just WhatsApp me or send me a text message on
Yeah, someone will
Instagram.
text.
saying,
I can put him in a waiting room.
Yeah.
He's in a waiting room.
Perfect. Okay. So all those who are in favor of electing. Okay, so yeah, sure. But we usually do it when there's multiple candidates and we're like trying to weigh the pros and cons.
I was just curious.
Yeah. But that will be so that yes, if he indeed becomes the president, we will next time we'll have elections for a treasurer and we'll send out communications for that, just like how we did for all the positions today. So it'll be the same process, but obviously it'll be when our next general body meeting is.
Drawn
Sorry,
into the room by the accent.
Anyone else? Any comments, concerns, questions?
Yeah, no, Joe's running for president, which is fantastic. I was gonna make a positive comment.
I think it's a moot point to vote for them if they didn't show up. Because they didn't present their candidacy by actually showing up. So I think we'll just move on and in the interest of time, just vote for the one candidate who was here, gave his pitch, and showed interest in becoming the president. So all those in favor of Joe being elected, everyone in favor of electing?
Wait. So then,
Yes, only Department of can vote. We have a question on Zoom.
Sophia, you can unmute and ask a question. Oh, were you okay? Never.
It's not a question. I was voting.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Okay, so once more, all those in favor of electing Joe Polishaw as the president, please raise your hand. All the reps.
That's 7.
All those opposed? Okay. Yeah. One opposed. Any abstentions? 1%. You're noting it that way. So one opposed and one abstention. Yeah. Great. So with that, Joe Polishaw is the new president of the Graduate Student Council for till the end of the fall semester. We can maybe bring him back, but
I think he. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll probably want to clap again and we can hear us clap. So,
Okay.
There he is.
Congratulations, Joe.
You've been elected president of.
He's joining. He's joining. Wait.
can you do it one more time?
There he is.
Congratulations.
Yeah, let the reign of fear begin. What a fool, living in the Russian department into leadership.
Awesome. So
Right.
let's move on to the share of communications, and I hope the people who express their interest, will be here. So the first candidate that I have on my list is Krishna Amin. She's there. Yes, great. Yeah, can you please come up and tell everyone, possibly in a brief amount of time, 1 to 2 minutes? Okay, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Krishna Amit. I'm a first year neuroscience graduate student. I'm looking for shared communication. My background in communication comes from my time as a high school teacher. I taught 4 years of science, 7 sophomore level. When you're working with students, you not only have to communicate to them what they're supposed to do every day, keep track of their record, but also communicate with their parents and keep them up to date as to what's happening in the class, what their students should be learning. And which is very different from graduate school, I know that, but communication at any level involves talking with every student involved in the student success. So my experience as a high school teacher not only allowed me to gain those skills, but I enjoyed it very much, and I would like to continue doing that by supporting the graduate student community at Brown as a communication chair. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. So remember that was Krishna. Next up we have Batul Behnam. Is Batul Behnam here? Are they on Zoom? It's BATO. This is everyone. Oh, okay. Never mind. We'll wait for them to maybe join in. Next up, I have Farha Mathila. And can you please tell me how you pronounce your name? Mathila. Okay. Farha, please come up and introduce yourself.
For the sake of time, people at the same time as Joe.
Is it a quick presentation?
I have a quick face on it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
It was too much time. But hey everyone, this is Farha. Can everyone hear me well? All right. So I am a fourth-year graduate student in MCB, and similar to Joe, I come with a lot of institutional knowledge. I have been an MCB rep for DSC for the past 2 years. I have worked with DSC board as in kind of meeting during pandemic about the needs of the student on campus. I have worked with Mike, who is the current communication here, to ensure all the bathrooms and restrooms have sanitary products here. I have also worked with my program, MCD, creating DIA, or Diversity Initiative Inclusion Plan, within the department to help graduate students, not only guys of color, but with different accessibility needs, student with appearance, diverse backgrounds, first generation college students, creating a culture of environment, coming up with plans of community education, as well as professional development that grad school doesn't provide. I am currently the president of Graston of Colors of STEM, which is something we also promote a lot of diversity, inclusion, as well as professional development for the student. And with all this experience, come with a very good knowledge of communication, talking with admins, really saying what you need, kind of demanding our voice, like town halls for my students to really communicate, take good notes, which is very important communication here. Be very quick, insert email. I think we all can appreciate that. So I'm gonna go with that. I have a lot of experience in this, and I think I'll be really good candidate for share communication as well as in the board because very fierce. I always want our students to be always part, and it's not always easy to work with admins. I'm sure they can all kind of relate to that. So yes, I want all of our voices to be heard, and then really excited to work with the team. I think I know some of them already, but excited. So that's all my spiel. If you have a question.
Thank you. The next up we have Pavani. Is Pavani here? Yeah. And as loud as you can be.
the chair for education. So my experience with student so my experience with student coordination has been phenomenal. We have organized many events in parents, my college, and a couple of other cultural events and national students and back in Europe. So I have experience in that field. So I think that has not been and so I just want to learn for the position and I feel like for me the required community and thank you so much.
Next up, we have Muskan Patel.
Good evening. I'm a new student from international student coming from Master's of Science and Computer Science background. And something about me, I have changed 7 different schools and I switched to 10 different cities and changed 50 different houses as well. And I thought because it's my dad's son for this job. But due to this job, I got an outlook of the diversity back in my country, which helped me shape my personality a lot. And apart from that, I just completed my undergraduate from Indraprasth University in India. I worked at Tata Consultancy for a year, and here I am doing my master's. And apart from the boring stuff, I worked at an NGO called Ambodi Trust for 3 years. What we do is that we help children make aware about child sexual abuse and what are the steps that they can take to prevent something like that from happening to them. Or like even just making them aware that something bad might happen to them because kids are usually not that informative about what is happening to them. So we conduct a series of informative sessions, and after working here for 3 years, I am currently the head of design and also the social media leader here. And apart from that, in college, I have organized a lot of events. I was a part of the Inactive Society. If you guys don't know about Inactive, it's the social entrepreneurship society. And working in Inactive, I have worked on 2 different projects called Arogya and Aratani. So Arogya was to help educate women about menstrual health and to also make them independent and basically making them entrepreneurs. We told them how they can sell the fact that we make in our factories and make them financially independent and also make them aware about the menstrual hygiene back in India. Because in India, talking about menstrual hygiene is a huge taboo, and that's what we were trying to break. And that's why we were trying to make the women in the village and rural areas social entrepreneurs. And under Aranyam, we work on helping urban landless farmers develop techniques like hydroponic farming, which is like a landless kind of farming, which does not require a lot of land but other resources.
Muskan, you can wrap it up. Sorry. Yeah.
Talking about the different backgrounds, the nice stories, and I think that's a lot involved in the post. And apart from that, I have organized events. I love to be a part of the background of the events happening and not just as a guest member. I know a lot goes on behind the process, and it's the very biggest thing, and that's what I like to do, to be a part of the background as well as the foreground. And I think that's it.
Cool.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. So that was Muskan. Next up we have Lalita. Has Lalita joined us? They had given again. Jainam Verma. Angela Wang. I know Angela was here. We spoke to her. Okay. Is there anyone else on in the room or on Zoom who would like to put their name in the hat and run for the position of Chair of Communications? If not, that's great. I would, if possible, ask the 4 people who just spoke to just stand up. And we will be voting for you guys, and you have to leave the room. But I just want to quickly like remind people, you know, the order that we will be voting in. So if you're gonna can stand up, all 4 of you, and come in the front. So Krishna, can you raise your hand? That was Krishna. Second, we will be voting on Farah. Farah, can you raise your hand? Third was Pavani. And then 4th was Muskan. Can you raise your hand? Great, guys. Can I ask you to leave the room super quick and we'll quickly vote. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, okay. So, and the order again that we were voting in is the order that we spoke in. So Krishna, then Farha, then Pavani, and the last one will be Muskan. So everyone, all the reps who want to vote in favor of Krishna, please raise your hands. Everyone who wants to vote for Farha, please raise your hands. Oh, so I got it 14. Oh, well, let's do it. Sorry, can you raise your hand? Someone else do. My problem.
Raise your hands higher if you please. Okay.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16. Perfect. Next up, we have Pavani. All those in favor of not, all those who want to vote for Pavani, please raise your hands. Is there a hand in the back? Yeah, okay. So, lastly, everyone who wants to vote for Muskan, please, who is the last candidate, please raise your hands. 2, 3. Oh, no, that's from the board. Yeah, that's one now. Okay. With that, everyone's
Okay, everyone on Zoom, please remember to like put your hand down after you're done voting, just to avoid confusion. Thank you.
Congratulations everyone for running. Today we have elected Farah as our chair of communication. Congratulations. And please, let's give a round of applause to the other candidates who ran as well. End of the semester for the whole exec course. So if you're interested, please stay connected and please stay in touch if you want to be part of the council in one way or the other. So thank you so much. Great, let's move on to the next part of our agenda, which is voting on the fall 2022 budget. We have a link for that in the agenda. And now I would ask Joe, again, who's our treasurer, to elaborate on the budget itself, and then we will vote on it.
Yeah, sorry guys, you all thought you had the last of me. Oh, your votes were all used in the wrong way.
Joe, 1 second, sorry, before you start. Do you mind if people don't see you, or because I'm projecting?
Yeah, don't see me. I'm happy to be just a threatening voice in the background.
Okay, sure, thank you.
So, as we know from like the planning of the university, this academic year is an interesting one. Is that despite the pandemic, Brown is operating in a pre-pandemic world. In the last academic year, the Graduate Student Council and all members voted for an increase to all funds to $40 per person. So if you look at this spreadsheet, that's why we have included both 2021 and 2029 budgets. 2021 is the pandemic year, so it's sort of exceptional funds. 2019 is the normality of it. So in the first line, we have legal fees. This is the legal fee that we pay to have a solicitor lawyer on retainer for all graduate students throughout the academic year. Information of that is found on the Graduate Council's website, and that has remained stagnant at 5,850. The next one, the GCB, our favourite place to be, the only graduate bar on campus, despite the fact they allow undergraduates in. So the fee in 2019 was 13,000, the next was 16,000, and now we're at 18,000. This is because this academic year Brown has admitted 3,000 students, both masters and PhD, and because of increased fees because of COVID, the fee per person is $6. However, we've also brokered a deal with the GCB to make sure that this also includes all people that come in through summer, so you have entire access. And the benefit of this is that every single undergraduate that comes to the bar, they have to pay $35 per semester, whereas this is $6 per person. The next one is the large socials. So in 2021, it was 20,000, down from 2019 to 21,000. I will say honestly, inflation is an absolute bitch. And we have been massively affected by inflation and also COVID restrictions in where we can operate for the numbers of people we've had. Remy and Olivia, your social chairs, have played an absolute blinder. They've done exceptionally well. We had 859 people at the social, Welcome Back Social last Friday. It's a difficult job, and it's even more difficult to extract every cent from it. So increasing it by 13,000 is representative of inflation, and by the 700 per person increase in 2019. This also applies to student life, which Abdullah is overseeing, in the work that he has done in terms of providing for interest groups, the parents, people of colour, and everything like that. Conference funding is going up to 18,000, and we're going to have a separate vote of that in a second, because traditionally that's been at $250, and I'm arguing to increase that to $300 per person. Sorry, my notes. Internal event goes back up to 400, recognized group as well. Internal event funding is for any organization or group within the university that is recognized to or put on an event. So this has been the Persian, for example, like the Persian Society to put on their Nowruz event, or like the history graduate students put on their graduate stuff to get funding. Recognized group is that any group that's recognized by the SAO as well as GSC gets an automatic $500 from Brown GSC. The executive meetings, that is the exec board meeting as well as our own slide committees. GSC honorarium is $250 per person because we put in a lot of time, happily and without issue. GSC meetings, that's your beer and pizza to come and see us once a month. The biggest increases you're seeing is international secretary. So international secretary for the past 3 years remains stagnant at $1,000. It's up to 2,500. This year alone, Brown welcomed 586. Sophia Verber can quote me on this. International students. We now make more or less 47% of the entire population, of the graduate population of Brown. So 530, thank you, Sophia Verber. She's a wonderful statistician. It's about making sure that the international students get the programming in terms of community building, but also the advocacy that they need with taxes, because, you know, I'm stuck in England after 6 weeks. Waiting for my visa. It's a shit show. And then it's the same with the master's secretary, because Brown has massively and rapidly expanded its master's departments in the sciences and humanities. So the extra money that's going there is to make sure that these people have got the community building and the resources they need in which to work and feel efficient within. Oh, well done, Mel, finally. Contingency, we're at 450 to 900. That's fine. Savings is 1,000 just in case anything goes down. And then Mel, if you could just scroll down for 2 seconds as well, just there's a couple of numbers afterwards. So currently in savings, we have $240,000. That comes from the fact of, because of the COVID pandemic, nothing happened, and we threw money at things and we helped. Currently is that once a year, our current budget. So what's going to happen is the first vote will be on the budget for the general budget. The second one will be increasing the Distinguished Speaker Series. The Distinguished Speaker Series is that once a year we invite interesting people to come and speak at Brown. We've had very interesting people to come and talk. But our budget beforehand had been 7,000 to 8,000 people. So I think we should increase it to 15,000 to get actual people of interest. And then we have the budget of using our savings to pay for a laptop for Mel and OWL. I think that's a thing. I'm really bad at communications. But 2,500 for that, and then $1,000 for everything else, for startup costs to make everyone bags and stuff. So that's that. I'm happy to field questions on the budget.
Could you talk a little bit about where our income comes from? Is that mostly the student fees?
Right. So each semester, you get a bill from the bursar. $40 now, that's the set fee, is $40 of that is for the Graduate Student Council. And from this Graduate Student Council, this is where, Mel, scroll up, come on. Go to my beautiful budget
So
sheet.
demanding.
Yes, exactly. It's the difficulty of putting a Russian in charge of everything. So the $40, it works out at 3,000 graduate students, comes to $120,000 a semester, sorry. So the $40 won out of that about $86.90 for the entire semester. $40 it comes straight to the GSC, in which we try and apply it to give as much benefit for the entire graduate community. So that comes down into socials, community building, conference funding, grants, etc., etc. The other $40 to $56 goes to paying for the gym, but we're also very aware of the fact that we only have one gym. However, we do have free access to all groups. That's the word. There we go. Thank you. I mean, I don't go to the gym, so I wouldn't know. Why are you laughing? So the question. So,
have one in the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait.
I was curious. The Distinguished Speaker.
What about the?
Okay. He's the person's asking if all the items that are in the bottom of the budget are coming from savings.
Yeah, they're all coming from savings. So because of the fact that, like, when I started as treasurer donkeys years ago, we had about 100,000. But because of the fact that nothing has ever overrun during COVID, because of COVID being horrible for all of us, the main premise is with the startup items, it's about getting stuff that we can brand ourselves. The IT tech, it's about getting an OWL speaker as well as a laptop so that poor Mel doesn't have to sit there and lug things to and fro. But with the Distinguished Speaker Series, fortunately, during the first wave of the pandemic, we were able to have, I've forgotten her name. What's her name? Someone off the board. What's her name?
Angela Davis.
Thank you very much. I'm English, so I'm allowed to be excused from this. But the only reason we were able to get Angela Davis was the fact that it was over Zoom. And the year after, we had a very interesting speaker who was a script writer, but didn't really speak to the wants and needs of the population, and the fees were still $10,000. Thus, by increasing it to 15,000, the premise is that, one, we can draw on the wonderfulness of us all at Brown and the committee to sit there and find someone that's actually of interest and actually of good use to us to speak on. But the main point of having the savings is that, 4 years ago, we refurbished the graduate student lounge, and that during the first wave of the pandemic, we were able to open up $80,000 to sit there and throw money at, well, not throwing money at people, but like in terms of to actually provide back. So the main thing as a treasurer is to sit there and go like, we do need that fall in cash, because we're in a shit space. We don't know when COVID's ending. Monkeypox is starting. We can talk apocalyptically about the economy, but it's about making sure that we're responsible with our money. And I think this is the most responsible way to spend the money that we've got.
We have another question in the audience.
Yeah. Farah, right?
From the budget, you student apply for free funding and didn't get it, or
Student or groups?
or anyone who applied for this kind of funding was highlighted and didn't get it. Why don't you not have any more money to, let's say, now things are more open, more social event, more conferences.
We are increasing those budget lines as well. So
Sorry, Vinesh. Sorry, just to repeat for people on Zoom, they're basically asking if any student recognized group or student applied for funding and did not receive it.
and if the other budget lines, if they have, like, if we're increasing the social events, are we also increasing these other budget lines?
So if you, Mel, if you can just like scroll up back to the budget, right? So each semester, I'm also speaking to what I'm about to speak to again in 2 seconds. So the main 3 lines that have been traditional parts of the Graduate Council Treasury has been the conference funding. For the past 3 semesters, our average amount of students reached has been 60 students with full funding, which is $250. No one's been turned away, unless I think we had 2 people during the full semester who wanted to travel abroad, and that was against Brown policy. No one's been turned away. The same thing applies to the internal recognized group. No one is turned away. As long as you are recognized with Terasa Chambers and the SAO, that money is there for giving. The entire recognition of the GSE is to sit there and support community building and to support endeavors. And if you look at what the application for the conference fund was 4 years ago, it's changed to sit there and even include registration fees, online academic fees. The difficulty that we're having is that we are a student-led group, we are a student-led organization, and that in the spring semester we had 65 people apply and were successful. But the difficulty is that in the summer, I'm on summer research, you're on summer research. It's the difficulty of the way that this works is that we aren't the graduate school. We're not the graduate school in the fact of we have a limited amount of money. We are not a rolling basis. All of that is clearly presented, which is why I'm sorry, Binish, for ruining your thunder for the rest of the meeting. But like this conference fund, it closes in October and the decision is by November. And we're very aware of the need to potentially sit there and think about the summer fund. But the reality is that no one's ever been turned away from it. What's happened is that we have communicated clearly, unilaterally, multilaterally, whatever you want to call it. Like we've consistently explained the way in which the funds have worked. I've received 8 emails over the summer about funding. That's it. And when it comes down to master's funding, when it comes down to other bits and bats, that's when you message your rep, you message us, and we talk with Glow, and we will fight for you. We'll fight for you every second of the way. But when it comes down to, like, I understand that it looks like the large socials, because it's a 13,000 increase, looks horrible. But in 2019, we used to go to bars in the city. Those bars are closed. Their limits for Brown and like for Brown for anybody is down by 14%. Like, we're fucked. Like, we're fighting a losing battle in terms of putting people in places. That's it. Like, we are fighting. We are fighting to make sure that we have community. And Remy did a wonderful job. Like I say, we had near on 900 people last Friday, and that was really jolly expensive. Like, and we're trying to take down costs, and it is wonderful and right. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Joe. We have another question. How many more questions? Can you just raise your hand? Perfect. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a few questions. The first is, I know last spring on the budget, there was a line for students with food insecurity, and I don't see that on this budget here. I was just wondering where that went, and will we be helping students have food insecurity?
Okay, and then can you put in another question as well?
Oh, my other question was, the social last Friday, was that coming from this budget that we haven't asked already? Don't worry about that class.
Okay. Oh my. Joe, do you know? So did you hear the two questions? One was like food security, and then the budget, the money for the social last Friday. Can you?
So this is like, as you all heard in my spiel, like it's a key part of it. There's a huge issue in the fact of the graduate school, and Binish, Abdullah, and if not on the exec can attest to it, in terms of what the graduate school attests to as food security. This is going to be a very difficult issue for the next 6 months, if not the next 12 months. Now, when we break it down into horrible economic terms, the reality is in terms of the spring semester last year was the highest proportion of students we had who participated in the food security program, which was 102. So the average cost per person there was about $67 per person, whereas the 900 people that was there at the Welcome Back social was the average cost is $22. The issue that we're facing is that the concessions and the victories we've had with GLOW as graduate students in the PhD section, as well as the funded masters, is that the graduate school has sat there and said, we're not funding anything. That's why we had the money, we tried to put the money there this summer, which is why moving forward this semester with Brown, the graduate school's own administrative program of providing food for people, we need to sit there and monitor it and see why it's going wrong. Because when it came down to the past 5 semesters, including one summer, that we paid for the food summer stuff, we would give maximum of 7,000, the graduate would give 7,000, and then the president's office would give up to 10,000. It's not sustainable for us to give 20,000. It's just it just fundamentally isn't. Which is why this semester is the key aspect, is to make sure that those people who need don't go without, but making sure that they're aware and are in contact with the executive board, with the people in their community, in their departments, because there is no want, there's no hate, there's no anything with it. It's wanting for food, they're wanting for food. But it's about restructuring the argument, because Brown and the graduate school believes that there's no longer an issue since we have had our pay increase. So that's where we're at. where we're at is in terms of making sure that those people who are food insecure know to talk to us and know to talk to you as representatives, and it's all as confidential as they want it to be, so that we can argue. But at the moment, when the graduate school sat there and pulled 8,000 from us, there's no way forward.
So, and just to add to that, we want this to be the thing that the grad school pays for. It's not something that we believe that the student activities fees should be coming out of. So that's like our ultimate eventual goal. B, we haven't stopped advocacy on this. In fact, we are already planning meetings with the Brown Market Share program, and also when we meet with the grad school again, to push them with more data and more advocacy around this issue, so that even if you're not voting it in today, we can still come back to you once we have established a longer term, much more like established lines of communication around like fully funding programs like this. We can still make it part of our agenda, and maybe in some ways part of our budget, even if it's in like a percentage discounted manner. So we are still continuing with this. It is part of our agenda. It's literally going to be on every meeting that we do. So we haven't forgotten it. It's just that, like Joe mentioned, with the increase that we've seen in the graduate stipends, this has been one of the things that has become a hard issue to get the graduates to school to kind of like partner with us and help us kind of co-fund. So which is where, yeah, Teresa.
So in the meantime, also there are several channels through which the graduate school possesses emergency funding available for food insecure individuals. In the absence of an active market share program to try and address this need, we're going to be working very hard to make sure that every food insecure graduate student is aware of and going through these channels, so that the graduate school is then immediately confronted with the need, and also food insecure students have access to it.
Also, if like you're in immediate need and you don't have time to go through those channels, we also have established a food pantry here to help out with like immediate today needs. So that is a
I have it on the agenda. I was going to talk about it at some point later, but yes, one of the ways that we have tried to make it so that we are still addressing the immediate need of food insecurity is that the GSC has established a food pantry in the graduate student lounge. The cabinets have all been labeled to make sure that people know which cabinet they need to go through. The idea is to keep it stocked with food, I'd say on like a monthly basis. So my hope is to essentially assess how much it's being used before we come to the general body meeting, and then restock it at every single general body meeting. But it is meant to address sort of these last minute needs. So.
Our goal for the meeting today is to spread the information for it, and
yeah, it is. We can just, when we get to that line item, we can pass over it. Yes, at this point, the last thing that I want to do is just take pictures of where it is and how to find the food pantry. But the idea is to have the website updated with the lounge pantry is what I guess I've started to call it. Have an update for where it is and what is stocked there, so that also people can let me know if certain things are running low sooner than the monthly basis that I want to restock it, and then also provide feedback on things that perhaps they feel like should be stocked that is not there currently. So it is in the works. The website it's really just lacking a picture, like the last minute thing. I would expect to have it up in the next couple of weeks, along with a widespread email making known that this is a resource available to all graduate students.
should we move on? Any other questions? Great. So
vote on my budget. Vote.
Well, yes, budget. Okay, so let's vote on the budget. All those in favor of approving this budget, please raise your hands. And all the reps, please raise your hands. You got 19. Yeah. Okay. All those opposed? Any abstentions? So 3 opposed, sorry, opposed was 1 and abstentions, we had 3. Okay, great. So with that, the budget has been passed. Thank you so much for going through it and providing all this really valuable input for it. The next agenda items, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were already part of this discussion, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's move on to the next agenda item, which is filling internal committees. So
We have to vote on the, like, wasn't the distinguished speaker hearing the bottom part of the budget, separate?
we were kind of because he introduced it as part of his whole presentation, like the link that was attached. So we kind of voted for it together, but if you want to vote on it separately, we can. The first 2 are already part of the budget, and so 5.1 and 5.2 were already reflected in the budget that you voted on, and the 5.3 was the last 3 lines like you saw that were part of the budget as well. So we kind of voted it in a bulk, but do you prefer?
I think voting on it is separate than what.
Sorry, you had a comment?
We vote for it.
Okay, sure. Okay, so 5.3 then, which is the vote of the use of savings. Can we vote on that? So everyone who wants to vote on the use of savings for the 3 budget items that we've listed under the budget, which is distinguished speaker series, the IT tech for GSC meetings, and the startup items. Everyone in favor, can you please vote? Anyone who's in favor, can you please raise your hands?
These 3 items for
Savings, yes.
Speaker.
Which is something we've historically always done, and it has added value to the community. So, all those in favor of voting on this, please raise your hands. Sorry, we can't hear you.
You mean this conference camp thing? Yeah. Yeah, so currently the current setup that we have right now is getting this conference speaker as well as a loaner laptop from the IT people. This one is very shoddy on how reliable it is, and that's kind of what we're concerned about. So we've had meetings where Zoom can't hear anything, like even if someone's like right next to us. And then we've had meetings like today, which everything has flown. Everything has worked very well so far. So the reason that we were thinking of investing in this was to just be able to have our own equipment, so we don't have to be relying on IT's availability, because this is not just for groups. This is for every single student on Brown's campus. So it has happened that it could be also just rented out and we don't have access to it, and then we don't have an alternative for the Zoom people. But there's also another possibility that we could explore if people have an issue with us taking that step as well.
Yeah.
But it would still involve having our own piece of equipment as a backup and as the main use, instead of having to depend on the IT's limited supply.
And if you
for our
think,
meetings.
yeah, and if people are interested in renting it out from us, we can maybe have a conversation about it in our next meeting. Because I think that's if you're buying it, then it can be a resource for everyone. Like just like everything else, like the speakers, like this room, everything else is a resource for everyone. So yeah, 100%. I think that's something that should be open to. Like I think most people will be receptive to it. Question there.
Because we're probably people on the use of the savings at the back. We're going to put the same currency.
Okay.
For the people on Zoom, basically, they're suggesting that we vote on the 3 items that we want to use our savings for separately, instead of just voting for one bulk use of savings.
We have one more question in the back.
Yeah, what is actually covered multiple procedures? It seems like we're all good.
Sorry, can you speak a little louder? So the procedure is you have to vote on it. Because the reason why they were bulleted was just to highlight specific areas that were increasing a lot more. So we make sure we touched upon those points, but they're all part of the budget itself. So that was the point, but I agree with you. If you want to do it one by one, that's totally fine and we'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's totally fine. Perfect. Okay, so one thing though. So did we agree with the budget itself, the one in the table? Is that because that's what we voted on? So that's okay, right? So we'll move on to the next point, which is I know the Distinguished Speaker Series is a part of the savings. Let's vote on that as the first agenda item. Okay, Alistair.
Just to be clear, 5 years ago, when we already approved that every single year we spend 10. Vote isn't to take a increase from 10.
That's not already part of the budget.
Yeah, so every single year, same year, $10,000 from the budget. Now we'll be going to increase that from 10 to 15.
It's something in the budget. Yes, it is. Look, so this agenda line that you see, so we all years we've had 10,000 already in the budget. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
General idea behind that is that with the increase in travel prices and other costs of living, 10,000 is no longer looking like it's going to be sufficient to get a really strong, high profile, interesting, engaging speaker for the graduate student body. The idea of increasing it to 15,000 is to incentivize, we want to be able to pay speakers what they're worth if we're asking them to come here and speak to the graduate student body. Increasing it to 15,000 raises the caliber of speaker that we can invite and, honor with what they're worth as a president.
Yes, Teresa, but I think the question that they were just asking was if they don't agree, if they're okay with it being 10,000, but they don't want it to be raised to 15, how would they vote? And in that case, you would just not vote yes, vote no. You oppose it because the 10,000 has been the base line price that we've voted on previously in previous years.
I thought the question was what the worth of raising it was.
Yeah.
So, well, we can do it one by one.
Yes. So now the vote would be to increase the Distinguished Speaker Series budget from 10 to 15K. All those in favor, please raise your hands.
Six, 7.
Yeah.
Oh, 6 again.
I think it was.
No, 6 again.
Oh, okay. It's 6. Okay. All those opposed? Okay, so 9. What were the 4? I can't hear you.
15 in favor, 9 opposed.
Okay, 15 in favor, 9 opposed. Okay, can you write that down? Yeah. And all the abstentions? One abstention. Okay, with that, the increase has passed because we do majority voting. So, we've passed this agenda item. Next, is there another agenda item that you would like to?
Beanish, they want to vote on each of the savings items individually.
Okay.
So the next one is voting on the item.
So let's vote on the IT tech for GSC meetings. That's coming out of our savings as well. We will be using $2,500 to use it for IT tech. And this will be coming out of our savings. All those in favor, please raise your hands. I got 22. Yeah, 22. Okay. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great. So that also passes. The third up is startup items for $1,000. Joe, can you
attention.
I'm
Jo-
here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
can you
Sorry,
talk
I-
about the startup items? again?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry, guys. I had to sort out the dogs. I'm working at my friend's farm. So finance for next year. So internal event funding. This effectively remains as what it was for the last 4 years.
No, sorry, not internal event funding, but out of what's coming out of the savings, the startup items, which is for $1,000 you put in.
Sorry. So the startup, that comes down to just swag and things like branded imagery that one benefits all of us as a graduate community, one in terms of free bags, free corkscrews, whatever is decided upon. It's just about making sure that it's sort of the horrible side of branding of America, that everyone has to sit there and get branding. That's it.
So it's like merchandise like this, pens, and like, so we attend a few activities fairs throughout the year to spread the word and create just awareness about what the Graduate Student Council is. So giving out things, and this is not only specific to those activities fairs, but there's multiple events that happen that master students organize. Just again, like getting any sort of stickers or anything that can help, again, make people aware of our branding, our logo, information, awareness. That's what it's for. So any questions about that? Can we vote on it? Oh, we have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, so the things that were put on the agenda specifically, focus on large increases, substantial increases. When this was originally written, I think that was lumped into use of savings. We weren't originally thinking that we were going to go through and vote on each of them individually, but now we're here.
So
I guess to be clear, your two activities, go only towards one, already voted on. There's savings from previous years that were not used. That's why it's voted when voted savings. Here, that's not part of your this year's.
Okay, so basically for the people on Zoom, the question was like, why was the specific like voting for startup items, for example, not written on the agenda? It was clarified that originally the agenda said that was for a vote. It was in the vote for use of certain savings. And Alistair was just clarifying that the savings are different from the student activity fee funding that we receive every year. So savings are what we've saved up for now from past years. And then the budget that we voted on is based on the student activity fee for this year.
And I'd also like to heighten the fact of like, without a presidency, it's all fallen down to Beanish over the summer to wrangle all of us and to sit there and go, we all give up our time as students to sit there and get stuff done. And it's a lot of work. And the $1,000 that we're giving out, it's a drip in the sort of in the lake. But the real fact is in terms of having this fund, because 7 years ago, the GSC didn't even function for 3 years. That's why we have this big fund of money, this big pool of money, which was why when the pandemic started, we were able to sit there and give up 75 grand over 3 semesters. I know it looks not potentially the most, I'm trying to say it in a nice way, the most sort of palpable, but you've also got to sit there and think in terms of the graduate school has pulled out of funding for our food program. We have over 3,000 students, from 45% of which are international. And last Friday, we had 890 of them on Simmons Quad, providing a community event. It's difficult to digest. I'm not taking away from that. But in terms of our job is to provide community and to provide interest. So realistically, 19,000 that's coming out this semester, but then having the rest of that money behind us also puts us in a stronger negotiating period moving forward with the graduate school, working alongside Glow, working alongside NBRIT to make sure the actual targets, to make sure that everyone's included, that equity is actually resolved. It's the right thing.
Thank you, Joe. Are there any more questions? If not, then we will vote on this budget item. All those in favor of taking out $1,000 from our savings to fund startup items, please raise your hands. Okay, and all those opposed? 2, 3, 4. And any abstentions? Again, if you're not rep, you cannot vote, so be careful about that. Great, I think we passed that one. Thank you so much. And Anders has a great suggestion and a question also, that can GSE publicize when they're going to be at resource fairs in advance, when such items from the budget are going to be distributed. Some other student groups do this, and it's nice to know when to grab GSE swag. That's a great suggestion. We'll be careful about publicizing that in our flyers or whatever information we send out. Usually for these resource fairs that just happened, they were a little bit more targeted to the international students. So that was kind of like, they were notified about our booth at least. So I think adding in more information, publicizing this is a great idea, and we'll try to incorporate that whenever we are giving out swag. Great. So now that we've voted on all the budget items, we can move on to filling the internal committees. Internal committees are basically all the different chairs and different different executive board members that you see today. They manage a specific area, like communications, like international relations, like master student advocacy. And the internal committees are basically groups of people who are interested in helping assist, support, or in any way be a part of working with these people to be a part of the Graduate Student Council. So I'm gonna now ask all the people or all the different chairs who have asked for internal committees to make a quick pitch, super brief, to just highlight what the commitment looks like, and you guys can sign up for these positions online using the form that is in the agenda. Go ahead. So nominations first.
Okay, real fast. Nominations handles the appointment of graduate students to various university committees. So there's a number of university level committees handling things like finance, diversity initiatives, library advisory positions, all sorts of things. These committees have positions available to graduate students. I am charged with appointing people to these positions. However, single person appointment is not always the best strategy. So I need a committee so that we can discuss and vote on people to serve in those positions. This is also one that needs to be filled real fast, because a lot of these get handled at the very start of the semester. We also vote on recognizing new student groups that are targeted at graduate students specifically when applications for such groups are submitted. The cool thing about nominations committee is that it can be handled entirely over email if that is your preference. In-person meetings are cool, but not necessary for this committee.
Great. Woo! Next up, we have finance. Joe.
Am I a floating head is the question.
No, not yet. Give me a second.
Joe,
Come
go
on now.
on, start your pitch. So
Yeah, I'll do it.
Do you love dreams? Do you love to crush them? If that's the case, then the finance committee is the one for you. We basically sit there and just ruin everything for everybody in the entire year. But the reality is, it's in this semester, it's 2 days of work, which is rapid. Who texted during my speech? We look at the votes. I send an email. The treasurer sends an email. You vote on it with your conscience. That's it. It's nice and easy and fun, and it's a day of food halfway through the semester. Join finance. It's the way forward. It's my pitch.
great. It's a great way to learn the internal workings of the GSC. Social events, go ahead.
Sure. Do you have a passion for parties? An eye for decor? I don't know. If you guys want to help us plan the big socials, you got fun ideas. You want to help like check-in tables, get to say hey to every single graduate that rolls through. Come join us for a lot of fun.
Thank you, Remy and Olivia. Next up, student life. Abdullah.
Since we're posing all of these committees as questions, do you have a bunch of things that you're passionate about? If so, the student life committee is sort of the Swiss Army knife of chairs. You can work on things ranging from putting together a Latin night for the graduate students to putting together a food pantry to just upgrading the graduate student lounge. Really, your heart's desire, whatever you have time for, you can work on. So if you're interested, come talk to me, make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up, Masters Advocacy.
Advocating for a bunch of people mentioned. Feel free to join the Masters Advocacy Committee because that's stuff that I'm personally bringing up since master's students don't usually have a stipend like PhD students. And then there's other issues too, like communication and planning socials and stuff. And it would involve commitment. Once a month, we meet with the leadership of the School of Professional Studies and coordinate over email. So if you're interested in that, feel free to sign up.
Great. Thank you, Liz. And then international.
If you like talking to people from other countries, interactive and also for socials catered towards international students, please come talk to me. I'm looking for people because we'll be having a lot more socials catered towards them. And I'm also creating a new list to spread out information for international students this fall. So I'll appreciate help if you can help me with that as well. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. So guys, again, the link is on the agenda for you to fill out. If you are interested in being part of these committees, please do join. Otherwise, you can also just come talk to us afterwards and email us, whatever you prefer. We would love to have you be part of these committees. It's also a great way to kind of be part of, like, interact with the council and then maybe in the future consider running for one of our posts. So definitely encourage getting that exposure and being part of the graduate student council in one way or the other. So thank you. Next up is we have some updates from nominations. So Teresa, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, two main updates. One has to do with graduate student recognized groups. Over the summer, with the help of willing members of my nominations committee from last spring, we recognized two new graduate student groups. One is Industry and Innovation in Biotechnology, which is going to be organizing a seminar series featuring a variety of careers in biotechnology and focusing in particular on biotechnology in the Providence area. They're super cool. The other one is the Graduate Student Association in East Asian Studies. East Asian Studies does not currently have a graduate program. However, there are a number of students across the university who are interested in topics related to East Asian Studies. This organization is designed to help all of them connect with each other. So if you happen to know someone who is interested in East Asian culture and sociology and all of that kind of stuff, that may be a student group that they would be interested in joining. The recognized groups is currently linked up there. That goes to the portion of the Grad Student Council website that lists all of our recognized groups and their contact info. It has not yet been updated with those two new groups, but I'm going to be working on that this week. As for committee vacancies, like I mentioned, beginning of the semester means a whole lot of new open positions on various committees. Highlights include the Title IX Council, the Student Conduct Board, the University Resources Committee, lots and lots of important ways that graduate students can get involved in having a say and an input in how the university runs. So that does not have a hyperlink currently because we recently transitioned from having that as a news post on the grad student website to a separate individual like page within the student council website. So I will update the minutes with the new hyperlink to that information, and all of the applications for all of those university committee positions are available on that page.
Thank you. Yes, and all. Do you have questions about any of that?
Oh, yes. Questions, recognized student group questions, committee questions, any questions?
Committees are great. Join them. Like Teresa said, great way to get learn about the university and work with the CAT Council. So moving on, we have finance. Joe, can you be super quick in giving us a rundown of the 3 funding items which we've already talked about?
Yes, because I'm efficiency incarnate. That's why I'm the president designate. So at present, we have got 3 main finance points. The first point is internal event funding. This is any student or any student group that wants to sit there and create an event that creates student opportunity. This could be a conference or a night out, whatever you want. It's up to $350 during this semester only. 8.2, recognize student group funding. This is a bit of a bugger, and I will happily admit that. And that comes down to the fact that SAO is stamping on an X. So as long as there is an organization that focuses and prioritizes graduate student community and integration into Brown and Providence, you have $500 for the semester. And this money is not to go towards anything else other than your day-to-day costs of an organization, which means that applying for 8.2 or 8.1 precludes none of the other. So yes, ask that. The next one, 8.3. 8.3 is the big sexy one. We're now up to $300 per person. Anybody who is applying for a conference or any sort of professional development between September 1st until January 20th can sit there and apply for up to $300 in funding. However, with all of this, the key thing to recognize is that be kind, be lovely to everyone about you, because the conference fund is not a rolling fund. The graduate school, the administration of the university is a rolling fund. We are not that, which means that we will close funds by November and make a decision by November. That's it. We have limited funds. We can't do anything more. Please spread this. And in the next week, you'll have extra funds as well. Done and done.
Thank you so much, Joe. And all the links, like Joe said, are in the agenda. So please check them out if you want to apply for these funding, different funding sources that you mentioned. Next up is social events, and Remy and Olivia, who, by the way, we need to give them a round of applause for organizing the most amazing Welcome social and so much work on behalf of everyone. So you guys are awesome. Have the floor.
So true. Thank you.
Get out.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just briefly cover our Welcome Back Social. I hope you all, or at least most of you, had a chance to make it last Friday. We welcomed around 850 students to our social at Simmons Quad. I would say it was very successful. I heard a lot of positives, and I think a lot of people made friends there, which is what it's all about. So thank you. I will say that we're planning a few other upcoming big events. So we're trying to bring back the Halloween social. We're currently in talks of trying to partner with Narragansett Brewery down by India Point Park for that event. So stay tuned for more information there. We're also going to do the winter social again. So a big event at the end of the year, everyone gets to dress up as fancy as they want, as casual as they want, and come have drinks, food, dance. We are thinking about potentially partnering with the med school for that event. So inviting med students to come join us. So I don't know how you guys are feeling about that, if there's any thoughts, concerns, but it seems like a cool way to kind of bridge the two communities. So that's where we're at. Yeah, and if you have fun social ideas, you can come chat with us. We're happy to work together.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have a comment suggestion from Megan in the Zoom. Could I make a bold suggestion? A lot of folks in my department have had a hard time with the very late start to the social and couldn't come. Would it be possible to perhaps consider making the social slightly earlier, like 8 p.m. or even 7?
Yeah, no, we can definitely think about that moving forward. That's good to know. Thank you. Yeah, that's good feedback.
We have one question in the audience.
So all the students will update all their friends in there. So if you update them as well, that we can certainly in the past, we have some of the events that are the same time. The student will
Gotcha. Yeah, we'd actually love to probably get in touch with like all the social coordinators for some of the bigger organizations. Like we're talking with NIBRIT to make sure that none of our events fall on the same day. So that's a great suggestion to try to also mitigate any double booking. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. That'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you again. You guys are awesome. Let's move on to student life. Abdullah, you have
Okay.
all of these amazing updates.
All
Please
right,
tell us.
I'm gonna try and blow through these real quick. So now that we've voted on the new budget for the Distinguished Speaker Series, the goal is to have a vote on who we will have later in the winter, but so the vote will be next general body meeting, so be on the lookout for that. My first upcoming event is going to be the Latin Night for Hispanic Heritage Month, which will be on October 7th. So be on the lookout for emails and posters and all that in the next few weeks. Additionally, there will be a Thanksgiving trivia. This is just really this is now at least maybe 2 months in advance. Dr. Brian Ford came and spoke with us earlier today. We've been talking about putting together a needs assessment all through the summer. Something that we're hoping to roll out by the end of this semester. So be on the lookout for that as well. And something that I've been working on since I started this position in January is I've just been trying to improve the state of the Graduate Student Lounge. This ranges from just sort of organizing all of the stuff that sort of just accumulates over the years to creating a whole new thing like the lounge pantry, which I will not go into again. One thing that has caused a little bit of friction in the past is the lounge booking system has just made it so that people are more likely to just come and show up when they think they have a booking, when they don't. So I've been putting together a brand new reservation system, which I'm hoping to roll out in the next couple of weeks as well. That's all I got.
That's a lot. Thank you.
One question.
How is that stocked and where is that money coming from?
Yeah, how is it stocked? I will place an order on probably Walmart Plus because my credit card pays for it for free and they will deliver it here. How is it paid for? It is paid for out of my budget line, which now is $7,000 a semester.
Okay, your budget line, is that what's to be voted for in the
Like,
budget?
The student life.
The chair of student life budget line. So that it'll come out of that. Yes.
Okay, and I request that, like, but I know you're going on these extra events, like maybe, I don't know how it's exactly, but like maybe we can like go maybe $3,000 extra specifically for. I don't know if people will be opposed to that.
If you exhaust your budget, we can always.
Like think about.
Yeah, I think part of the way actually that I've been pitching the food pantry is actually I view it more as a pilot program because this is something totally new. You're absolutely right. I think one of the reasons that the student budget their student life budget has been increased is because of these extra socials and then also helping fund the food pantry. The goal is to see how much it actually ends up costing. I think stocking it the first time it didn't come out to actually being that much. It came out to only being about $300, but the plan is to continue to stock it and then add more items as well, because there is more space for more stuff. So honestly, if you're interested in looking and diving more into it, this is why I want the committee. I only have so many hours in a week to split between all the different things that I do. it would make this is actually something that I would love to have someone on my committee for to work solely on this. So quick plug.
There are a lot of resources out there on how people build community pantries and like the funding that they use to stock it. So you can find all that information online. I know there's a website about starting your own, so I can always link you to that too if you haven't seen it. But that would help you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Abdullah, for all these amazing things that you're putting up. Next, Masters events and advocacy events. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so first thing I want to mention, there's a new staff member over at SBS. Her name's Morgan Orlandi. She's the student engagement specialist, and that's a brand new position as a result of the work of myself and my previous predecessor on just having someone to help foster a sense of community among master's students. So that's her job specifically. And I've been working with her, kind of segueing into 11.2. To plan the very first social of the year for specifically master's students. It's a master's student happy hour at PVD Beer Garden across the pedestrian bridge. It's going to be this Friday from 4 to 6. So if you're a master's student, please come. And there are a few more events that I'm thinking about doing. One is a pumpkin decorating event next month in the spirit of Halloween. And then I've been told a game/trivia night was popular before, so I'm looking into doing something like that again sometime in November maybe. And I put some tentative weeks for when these might happen. So stay tuned on further details.
Thank you, Ray. Are there any questions? Great. So we can move on to the international advocacy and international advocate. So, Sam.
Yes, I have just two updates. I'm trying to create a new list for international grad students. I've realized that international grad students have different needs as per their need for like F1 visa stuff and how to interact with YSSS. And these can be counted not like GSBD is not the right avenue for this information. So having a shared list where people can interact with each other, and also I'll be moderating it so they can talk to me directly through it, and I'll also help YSS answer those questions directly to the group. Having a list like that is helpful going forward for international grad students or current grad students and also the incoming ones in the future. The other updates that I have is I'm throwing a student mixer for international students. Feel free to come. It's not just catered to international students, but otherwise everyone's welcome. But it tentatively mid-September or end of September. It will have food, free food, alcohol, non-pizza food. Like no, like I'm trying to get international cuisine into our social. So yeah, that event will cater to that. So yeah, that's mostly it.
Thank you so much, Cyan, and now on to Mai for communications updates and other things as well.
Hi, Mai. I just want to say also thank you so much for having me here communications as I am moving on now. So just thank you so much for having me. And then just a couple of the updates that I wanted to talk about. First, I wanted to bring up the concept of maybe having topic-specific committees. I know that Abdullah was talking about a lot of the problems that he's been having with having so many different committees. And I thought that it might be a really good idea to start developing topic-specific committees, like for instance, having like a food pantry specific committee or a food insecurity specific committee. I personally have also been working really hard to help with FARPA as well as the undergraduate council of students to increase hygiene product provision on campus over the past several months because we are technically supposed to have hygiene products in all bathrooms, gendered and non-gendered bathrooms on campus, and the school is supposed to provide them, but they haven't been. So it's been trying talking to a group of males to telling them why it's so important, cis males specifically, why it's so important to have these products in the bathroom. But having just the three of us, I really feel like it's really important to include more voices as part of our discussion for hygiene product provisions on campus, and really making sure that they're available for everyone. So that was something that I really wanted to push for, is having these specific committees. And I also hope to be continuing to work on this project even as I step away from the committee. So yeah, that's all I really want to talk about. So thanks for having me.
And thank you, Maya, for serving with us. We know you've worked for a long time on this, so thank you very much.
And also for going above and beyond, just from the communications to go into all these different things. And that's the best part about being on the GSC. Like, it doesn't matter if there's a specific thing you're interested in, whatever position you're in, you can, you can advocate for it. You have a voice. So please, 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 again, a plug for you. Be involved, join us, come to our events. We really love it. And thank you again, Maya, for being on part of the council. Next up is GSC semester priorities. And this is more, again, more of a, these are things we kind of like just want to reiterate as opposed to introduce as new items. But the GSSI is this document that an amazing council, like a few councils before us kind of came up with, which is sets out our priorities as a group. Please look at this a great document. We want to update it eventually. It's a very comprehensive document that lists out all these different areas that we work on and what are specific short-term and long-term goals that we are kind of advocating for. So I'm just wanting to put in a plug for that. We want to continue advocating for financing and resources for graduate students, whether it's for food security, whether it's for housing, whether it's for international students who can get their stipends like in a certain amount of time, whether it's other need-based financial resources. We really, really want to prioritize that advocacy this semester and for all the semesters coming up. The Graduate Student Center, you've already heard, is something that Joe also mentioned it in his pitch. That's something that has been a priority item for the GSC for a while. There is no place to house graduate students that's only devoted to graduate community and building a community life, which is something we feel very strongly about and is another priority item for us, something we continually pitch for funding. And we like all the support that you guys can give us when advocating for that specific item. And then looking at mental health as well. Thankfully, we have some really, really great advocates on the council, like someone like Abdullah. He's been looking at the specific topic of mental health, and you heard from Dr. Bryant today. We are continually trying to advocate for improving the mental health resources, as well as any other ways in which we can be, taking all the feedback that you guys give us and giving it to not only the grad school, but the administration, the student life office, all these other offices to make sure that we have the right mental health resources to acclimatize to this really, really challenging experience, which is graduate student life. So those are some of our priorities. Moving on to the open floor items, I see one item has been added, which is the graduate support for the graduate students in need now, which is the GLOBE petition. Was there anyone who wanted to speak about it? Go ahead now.
Yeah, so basically I put this, the link to this petition is on the agenda. Right now, there's 3 graduate students that are being unfairly treated by Brown and are not being either paid their wage or are even being forced out. So in the case of Jeremiah, here on the left, he has been given 14 days to leave the country because he's an international student that is no longer being paid. So please, the more people and the more graduate students that we can get supporting these 3 would really help them win their cases against Brown. So the link is going to be in the agenda. Feel free to share it with all your departments as well to get the word out.
Thank you so much for that.
Can I just add?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to add that I think these each individual that's involved in this has their own GoFundMe. So I think also they also have their GoFundMes available, so you can also fund each individual directly.
Great. Now, any other open floor items? Seeing that there are none, I would just want to announce that the date of our next meeting is Wednesday, October 5th. Thanks to the people who suggested that I did the wrong date. They made me corrected. So thank you so much for making me corrected. Remember, it's always the first Wednesday of every month from 7 to 9. We look forward to seeing you all again. Before we can close off this meeting, I do need a motion to close the meeting. Can I have a motion? Can I have a second? All those in favor? Oppositions?
Opposed.
Opposed.
It's a long meeting. It's a long meeting. All those opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you guys for being here. Oh yeah,
Please
stack your
stack your
chairs. Thank you. It was a 9:02. We were not very long, right?